Every piece has a story. That's one of the beauties of being in antiques. Every piece has a story. This clock has a story. Back in 1978, my father and I were honoured to get a note saying that we'd been invited to exhibit at the world-famous Grosvenor House Antiques Fair. It was the very best fair in the world. And we were lucky enough to have this wonderful Chippendale period mahogany long case clock on the stand. And we sold it at the fair to a collector. It's a really nice guy. And this clock is quite tall. So when he bought it, it couldn't be delivered until he'd had his builder dig out a well in the floor so that the clock could stand in there, because his ceilings were just a fraction too low. That was back in 1978. And then just a couple of months ago, I got a phone call from his son to say sadly his dad had passed away, and did I want to buy the clock back, reacquire it? Well, knowing the stand at Grosvenor House and the standards of Grosvenor House, I was only too thrilled to say yes, absolutely, I definitely want that clock back. And so here it is. After all this time, it's back at Harvey's and available. Now, the clock was made by John Rainsford of Leicester Square, and it's interesting for many different reasons. One of which is that it doesn't have any of the curly-whirly spandrels in the corner that we normally associate with clocks of that period. Also, it's got a strike silent in the top, in the arch, and it has, as you can see, the calendar aperture there telling us the date of the month. Signed John Rainsford, Leicester Square. John Rainsford was an interesting clockmaker. Originally, he was established in the City of London. He, very sadly, went bankrupt. And under the city rules in those days, you weren't allowed to trade if you were declared bankrupt. So he moved from the city, as it says here, to Leicester Square. And it was in Leicester Square that he made this clock. Because Leicester Square is outside of the city, he was able to continue in business there. It is the most extraordinary quality, made in about 1755. Extraordinary quality in the case. It really is the very, very finest, not just the mahogany. The overall feel of this clock is one of having been made for an extremely good household, a very expensive clock for a very good home. And it's got all sorts of lovely details on there, like the brass quills on the quartered columns are all numbered and go into numbered places on the wooden blocks under the capitals. It has the original tray, and the brass quills, you'll note, are on the base as well. It's an 8-day movement, striking the hours on one bell. What is quite extraordinary though, and this is the only time I've ever seen it, is when we open the case. As you would expect, you have the two brass-cased weights and the pendulum. What you also have is the original maker's label, clocks, dials and watches, made and sold by John Rainsford, Leicester Square, London. The original maker's label still inside the door. I've never seen that before. This is the only example I've ever seen of that. It's interesting as well because all the details of every restoration that's been done are noted on the inside of the bell on the movement. He's in all the best books on clocks of that period. Britain's 7th edition, Britain's 5th edition, and there was a clock by him in the Weatherfield collection. So there we have the most extraordinary, beautiful Chippendale period long case clock. Now, interestingly, Leicester Square, and where John Rainsford had his premises, was just round the corner from where Thomas Chippendale had his workshops. And there has always been a lot of speculation about whether or not this case, because it's so important, could not have been made by Thomas Chippendale in his workshops. There's an interesting thought. And as I said at the beginning, every piece has a story. And this one is such a happy story. A beautiful clock in wonderful condition, keeping excellent time. It just has everything going for it. So it really is such a pleasure after all this time to have this clock back here at Harvey's. Full details are available on our website at wrharvey.com, where you can also sign up for our regular e-newsletter. Thank you.